Hello everyone, I am Surbhi Mishra and today I have came up with a new topic in business communication which is very mandatory and also plays a very crucial role, right? And so the topic which we are going to discuss today is about building vocabulary and English pronunciation. So we'll be talking about how to enhance our vocabulary, our words, so that we can communicate effectively in an organization, right? So let's talk about the topic, and we'll be covering the meaning of the vocabulary, what vocabulary means, what is the importance of vocabulary in communication, and what strategy we use so that we can improve our vocabulary or build our vocabulary, right? Similarly, we'll be talking about what pronunciation is, what is the importance of pronunciation in business communication, and how we can improve our pronunciation. So let's start with the topic. So we'll be starting with the vocabulary first, and then we'll do the English pronunciation part, right? Let's start. What is vocabulary? So, vocabulary, as you can see here, refers to the collection of words and phrases that an individual uses in his spoken communication and also uses in written communication, right? So, it includes in both in writing as well as in speaking. So, building a strong vocabulary is very, very important for effective communication. As I mentioned, it gives you a good collection of words so that you can use it, which will give a very strong impact in professional settings, right? So, vocabulary can be used for academic success, for personal and professional growth, right? So let's see what is mentioned over here. Vocabulary here is written that it refers to the collection of words and phrases that an individual uses and knows for its communication. It includes receptive vocabulary and productive vocabulary, right? So there are two forms of vocabulary here. It is mentioned. Number one is receptive vocabulary, where word a person can understand when he heard or read, right? That is known as receptive. When you are reading or when you are listening or hearing to some words, that is known as receptive vocabulary. You are recepting it, you are hearing it, you are studying it, right? But when we use a person which uses correctly in speaking or writing, then we termed it as a productive vocabulary. Why? Because we are using it in our speeches, we are using it in our we can say writing an email. So the here basically words are being, or the vocabulary is being categorized into two basic forms. When we read or when we listen to someone, some words, that is known as receptive, we are receiving something. And when we are using our own words, when we are using it into writing mails, writing letters, or in delivering a speech or a presentation, so while speaking and writing, the vocabulary, the words which you are using are termed as a productive vocabulary, right? Let's see what is the importance of vocabulary in business communication. When we talk about importance of vocabulary, it means that it is important for communication, as a rich vocabulary enhances your ability to communicate clearly and effectively. It allows you to express thoughts and ideas more precisely, right? So what you do is, if you have a very good collection of words and phrases, you are easily able to communicate, understanding the level of the audience, right? You can express your thoughts very well, and you can make your ideas heard in a very precise manner, in a very brief manner, right? So next comes is the academic success. It also helps to link better comprehension and performance in reading, writing, and standardized tests. So it also helps you for qualifying academic success or for qualifying any academic aptitude test or any comprehension test, right? So vocabulary skills are linked to better comprehension and performance. Next importance here is it is also mandatory for professional growth. In the workplace, a good vocabulary helps in articulating good ideas, presenting information, and engaging in meaningful discussions, right? So, what happens is if you are having a very good sort of collection of words and phrases, you may articulate your ideas more concretely, more precisely, and you will be able to engage the meaningful discussions with your audience or with the people you are there in the discussion, right? So it helps in communication, it helps in academic success also. It also boosts up your professional growth, and also we can say also focuses on cognitive development, also supports in cognitive development. As we are learning something, we are expanding our vocabulary, we are expanding our cognitive process, learning and memorizing process. So it helps to develop our cognitive level also, right? The memory, the attention, and the analytical thinking. So it also helps in the development of our cognitive process. Next comes the social connections. It is the effective use of language helps in building relationships and also navigate social interactions more comfortably, right? You are in a much comfort zone when you have a good sort of words, when you can use good words in your social interactions. You may have a very good collection of words and vocabulary of your native language. You easily can relate things to the people there. You can make a social connect with them, right? So all these things helps you. Vocabulary helps you in developing your communication skills, in having academic success, in growing your professional network, in articulating your cognitive development, and also at the same time it also helps you to build up social connections, right? So these are the importance of vocabulary. So you must focus on your vocabulary, try to update, try to increase your vocabulary, and start reading books, start reading news, try to analyze the meanings of the words, try to relate those words in your conversations, so that you may also become you may also become a very good speaker by having a good collection of vocabularies. Vocabularies are nothing but a word and a phrase which we use in the conversation. So you must enhance your knowledge regarding your words and phrases, right? And it can be done only by practicing, by learning, by studying, by listening to people, by engaging into the conversations, right? You can do it in a very uh, regular practice, in a very, we can use it, the words which we use in our daily conversation are now so outdated. We must try to learn new words, the synonyms of those words which we use, right? So this will not only enhance your vocabulary, but also will uh, develop your interest to learn something new, right? Moving to the next slide, we will be talking about what are the strategies to develop vocabulary, right? So when we talk about strategies to develop vocabulary, becomes, as I mentioned, start reading regularly, use dictionaries. If you don't know the meaning, go and find out use the dictionaries, thesaurus, or you can also take the help of the internet, learning a word a day. Try to inculcate the habit of learning at least a new word in a day, right? And how to use it in your sentences, in your conversations, how to we can use it in professional communication. So if you will make a habit of learning a word each day, you will be able to collect 30 words in a month, right? So your vocabulary will have a add-on of 30 words, right? So engaging in conversations, try to do conversation with people, engage in conversations, develop your writing practice. This will also help you. Suppose you are learning a word each day. Try to write it in your speeches, try to write it in your emails, try to practice writing those words. Playing word games, try to like if when you are in a leisure time, try to play word games, vocabulary building games, right? Also learning roots, prefixes and suffixes. Here this means try to know how a word can be formed, what word should be used before, what word should be used after. So prefix and suffix should also, you must have knowledge of adding a word before and adding a word afterwards, right? So you must know it. Also, apart from this, what you can do is nowadays we are on a digital platform in a digital era, so we can join any clubs for vocabulary building or any or you may join any vocabulary classes, right? So by sitting at the convenient place of yours, you can join all these clubs, you can hear it, you can develop it, you can go and take tutorials on the internet. You may watch educational videos and podcasts so as to absorb the good vocabulary, good phrases. Utilize technology and application. As I mentioned, we are living in the digital era. We can utilize the technology and applications, right? So these are the strategies which we can use to develop. We'll be discussing it. Let's start with the very first one, reading regularly. Make diverse genre. Read a variety of materials such as novels, newspapers, scientific journals, and blogs. Don't stick to a particular domain or a particular genre, right? Like you are only sticking to novels. No, try to expand, try to explore more, try to learn from journals, try to read blogs, newspapers. You will get to know about different words used at different places. Like you will get to know about the synonyms of each words, right? Next comes is context clues. Learn to infer, try to interpret the meaning of those new words from the surrounding text, right? If there is a word used, so try to understand what that sentence means, what the word is interpreting in this particular sentence, right? Instead for just going and check it on Google or on in a dictionary, try to analyze it, try to develop your analytical skill, right? Try to think over it, try to interpret the meaning. Next comes is using dictionaries and thesaurus. Look up words, make a habit of looking up unfamiliar words in dictionary. If you're not familiar with the words, you can take a help of dictionary, try to find out the meaning, the synonyms, and the antonyms. So you can use thesaurus to find out the synonyms, what are the similar words which are having the same meaning, right? And by doing this, you may enrich your vocabulary. So the next is learning a word a day. As I mentioned, make a habit that introduce a new word every day, right? Create flashcards with new words and their meaning for quick revision. You can also create a flashcards where you can write those new words, their meanings, and you can use it for quick revision, right? Next is engaging in conversations. So here, engaging in conversation means be an active listener. Try to pay attention to the words used by others in conversations. Use new words. Make an effort to use newly learned words in your own speech and writing. As I already mentioned, if you are learning something, if you are collecting good words, try to inculcate into your writings. Try to include it in your speeches. This will make you develop a practice of applying those words which you are learning every day, right? Next comes writing practice, journaling. Write daily an article, an essay, or a story using those new vocabulary. Revise your writing to include more good content, more richer vocabulary, right? So, the more you will practice, the more you will enhance. Playing word games like crosswords, puzzles, online word games. So this will engage you in games and you will do learning with fun, right? So it will not be a stress on you that yes, you have to study, you have to enrich your vocabulary. No, you will make learning a practice by simultaneously, if you will involve yourself in a game, so you will feel that you are having a good learning time with fun. So engage in games that challenge your word knowledge, right? So it will also help you um, to enhance your vocabulary and also help you to analyze critically where to mention which word, right? So use vocabulary building apps also. You can use online games also to make learning a fun, right? Next is learning roots, prefixes, and suffixes. As I mentioned, try to understand the roots and affixes, which helps in deciphering the meaning of unfamiliar words. Try to learn word formation, how a word can be formed, right? Try to recognize the patterns in word formation to expand your vocabulary effortlessly. So what you have to do is you have to learn how word formation, you have to check the pattern, you have to recognize which pattern of word is there, what sort of word formation is there, right? So this will not only help you, but will also help you to analyze it and to get familiar with the unfamiliar words. Next comes is joining vocabulary clubs or classes or groups. So study groups join or form a group focused on learning words together. Also participate in book clubs to discuss and explore new vocabulary. So these activities you can do, these strategies you can use to enhance your vocabulary. Next comes watching educational videos and podcasts. So you can also have a access to documentaries and learn language learning podcast. Watch documentaries and educational programs to learn specific vocabulary, which is in the particular documentary context, right? Also learn language podcast. Listen to podcast aims at enhancing your vocabulary skills, right? Because the more you will listen, the more you will have the more receptive vocabulary you will have, then you will try to make it into a productive form, right? So learn, listen, and also practice. So only make continuous learning will help you in continuous growth. Make sure you develop a habit of learning and practicing words. Only this will help you to enhance your vocabulary. You can also use our technology as we are in the digital era. You may use technology, the applications. So vocabulary apps, there are n number of apps which are available on your mobile phone. You can go it and download it from your Play Store. Use like Anki, Quizlet, Memrise, designed for vocabulary in building, or you can also go for word building games, right? So there are online courses also. You may, if you want, you can enroll in online courses that focus on advanced vocabulary and language skills, right? So all these strategy will somehow improve your vocabulary skills and will make you use effective words for effective communication, right? Now, we can say a robust vocabulary is a continuous process. This can only be done through practice and learning. So try to incorporate all these strategies in a daily routine and develop only a practice that you have to learn a word each day. This will enhance your vocabulary by 30 words in a month, right? So at least try to learn a new word each day. Next, we will be talking about pronunciations. What is the pronunciation? So pronunciation here, we are talking about the English pronunciation, right? As we are talking about business communication, we have to communicate in English. So we'll be talking here about the English pronunciation. So let's start with the meaning, like what is pronunciation? Pronunciation is the way in which a word or a language is spoken. It involves the sounds, the stress, and intonation used when speaking words or sentences. So, what pronunciation here is saying that the way we used to speak a word, it creates some sound, it gives emphasis on a particular word, and there is voice we can say there is variation in the tone. So that is known as pronunciation, right? How we pronounce a word. So that is pronunciation. Proper pronunciation ensures that spoken language is clear and understandable to others. If you are not pronouncing the words correctly, so people will not be able to understand what you are saying. So to improve that, you have to make a practice to pronounce words correctly, to hear from the people, to listen more to the people, and try to uh, develop a habit. If you are not familiar with the pronunciation, try to learn it from tutorials on digital applications or using the YouTubes or the other online platforms available, right? So let's see what are the key aspects of pronunciation. So when we talk about pronunciation, the key aspects over here is phonemes. Phonemes are the distinct units of sound, right? We have studied in, we can say, when we were in the school or when we have initiated the learning process. So we started the practice of using or making sound of a word, right? For example, sounds like b, t in English. So it's p, b, d, t. So all these sounds are phonemes, right? So the next comes is distress, the emphasis which is placed on a certain syllables within the words or on a certain words with sentences, right? So as I mentioned, the words, the when we give emphasis on a certain syllable. For example, when we talk about the word record, so we are putting the more emphasis on the word read, right? So the stress is on the first syllable when it is a noun, record. And on the second syllable when it's a verb. So God here is verb. So first we are putting emphasis on record. So re is the first syllable, right? So you have to check which word have to give more emphasis on, right? How to pronounce it. So you just have to do it by practicing and listening carefully. And when we talk about intonation, as I have already discussed in the vocabulary, when we are discussing the rise and fall of the voice, the tone which you are using, the voice tone while speaking, which can affect the meaning, right? It can change or it might sometimes people may misunderstood it. So you have to make sure of the intonation, where you have to rise your voice and where you have to come to the lower level of the voice. So, for example, a rising intonation at the end of a sentence often indicates a question. Suppose if I ask, what is pronunciation? So I'm talking about what is pronunciation. So here the tone is varying, right? So in this way, we can say the rise and fall of the voice when speaking can affect the meaning and emotion of the sentence. So you have to take care of the intonation where your tone is rising and falling, right? Next aspect is rhythm, the pattern of sounds and silence in speech, which can vary between different language and dialects, right? So you have to check, are you in rhythm? Are you in a sync? So it may vary according to the different language. In Hindi, things goes different. In German, in French, things go different, and English it go different. So it also affects as per the dialects, accent, or the language, right? So we have to make sure in which language we are studying. We are studying in English, so we have to follow the rule of rhythm and dialects in that particular language. Next is vowel and consonant sounds. When we talk about vowel and consonant sounds, the specific sounds that make up words, right? So these are the specific sounds we make up words. So I hope you all must be knowing about vowel. Vowels are A, E, I, O, U. And the other 21 words are consonants, right? English has a complex system of vowels and consonants that can be challenging for learners. So you have to make sure you are very much aware of the vowels and consonants and how to use them, right? So the next aspect is linking the sound, the way sounds are connected in a natural speech. If the words are not connected or not linked properly, they may come up with different meanings, right? For example, if there is a phrase go on, so go is another word and on is another word. If these sounds can blend together, so it will sound like goon. If they'll merged up, these two words are linked together, the sound will become goon, not go on, right? So you have to make sure that the words which you are linking are correct or not. So linking is very important. Coming to the next thing is, what are the importance of pronunciation? So we'll be talking about the importance of pronunciation over here. It should have clear communication, good confidence level, professional impact, social integration, and listening skills. So we'll be discussing it one by one. When we talk about clear communication, it means good pronunciation ensures that your spoken words are understood correctly by others, reducing or eliminating misunderstanding, right? If you are giving a clear pronunciation, that means the people will be able to understand it correctly. Poor pronunciation, if there will be a poor pronunciation, it will lack your confidence level. So to boost your confidence level, to have proper confidence level, you must have a knowledge of proper pronunciation that will boost your confidence level and make you more comfortable in conversations, right? So make sure you have the knowledge of proper pronouncing a word. Professional impact in professional settings or in professional structure, clear pronunciation helps in presenting ideas effectively and engaging meaningful discussions, right? Social integration, as we were talking about vocabulary, only the vocabulary we will going to pronounce, right? The words which we have learned, we will be pronouncing that only. So we have to make sure that our pronunciation is better in social interaction and also helps in integrating English speaking communities. So must make sure that you are able to speak properly in social interactions. You must integrate the English communities and people who are speaking there, and must make sure that there is a close check on your pronunciation. If you are deviating, try to improve it. Next comes the listening skills. Improving pronunciation also enhances your listening skills as you become more aware of sounds and intonations, right? You have to, as I already mentioned, we have to listen carefully as well. Next is common pronunciation challenge. What are the challenges people face? So the challenges which generally people face is native language interference. Their native language comes in between the interference. Why? Because that is their mother tongue. So we can say the sounds and patterns which we learn from our childhood till our adulthood sometimes interfere the pronunciation, right? The sounds in when we can see that there are people who are unable to, or we are unable to produce a sound of sh and s and sh. So there must be some due to native language interference, these things happens. So you have to try to practice this and rectify it. Next is unfamiliar sound. If you are not familiar with the sound, if you are not familiar with the sounds, so in that case also the learner may pronounce it in a not in an incorrect manner, we can say, right? So next is stress and intonation patterns. If your English uses a specific stress and intonation patterns, that may be different from other language. So it can be a challenge to a person. Homophones, words that sound same but have different meanings, right? So it is known as homophones. For example, there, they are. So actually, these words sound similarly but have different meanings. So it can also be a challenge where to use which word, right? So next is silent letters. Silent letters like night. So here KNIGHT. No, now, no, honest. So the words which are silent over here can be confusing for learners, right? So you have to make sure. So to overcome these challenges, there are few strategies we'll be discussing. These strategies are listen and imitate, phonetics practice, recording and playback, use pronunciation tools, practice with tongue twisters, focus on problem sounds, shadowing techniques, learn stress and intonation patterns, join pronunciation classes, or practice, and we can say not or, and practice it consistently. These strategies will help you to overcome these challenges and to improve more on your English pronunciation. Let's discuss. So the very first is listen and imitate. Try to listen to your native speakers and try to imitate their pronunciation, their rhythm, and intonation. This will help you to improve. Next is phonetic practice. Learn and practice the symbols and sounds using resources like International Phonetic Alphabet. So by using the resource like IPA, you can improve your pronunciation. Next, recording and playback. Record your speech first and then listen to it and try to compare it with the native speakers and identify where you are lacking and simultaneously try to improve it then and there. Use pronunciation tools. Utilize pronunciation applications which are available on Play Store. You can easily go and download it from there or from other online resources. Try to learn language using learning software to practice and get feedback, right? You will so those software helps you to practice and get regular feedbacks, and they help you to identify your mistakes where you went wrong, and then they try to rectify those errors. So this will also help you to improve, right? Next is practice with tongue twisters. Use tongue twisters to improve your articulation and pronunciation of tricky sounds, right? We'll try, there are n number of tongue twisters which will help you to pronounce it clearly. The more we'll practice, the more we'll try to improve. And this will also help you to make stress where it is required, which word to be emphasized more, and how do we have pronunciated, where we have to focus on the silent words or the words where one alphabet is silent, right? So tongue twister will help you to practice more. Focus on problem sounds. Identify and practice sounds that are difficult for you. First, try to learn the sounds which are difficult to you, which you are not familiar with. Try to practice those first. Next, shadowing technique. This technique is a technique where you practice speaking simultaneously with a native speaker to mimic their pronunciation, right? As when a native speaker is speaking, try to speak with them so that you try to imitate and mimic their pronunciation, as this will help you to improve your pronunciation, right? Next is learn stress and intonation pattern. Again, as we have discussed in the vocabulary also, you have to make sure where you have to put stress, where you have to change your tone, and according to the patterns, you have to do it, right? As we use in English, as we are talking about English language only, so we have to focus on the pronunciation of English words, making emphasis or where stress is required on the particular word, which syllable, whether it is a noun, verb. So you have to check it accordingly, right? Next is join pronunciation classes or group, take classes or join language exchange groups for practice and feedback, which will help you to consistently improve your pronunciation also and vocabulary also. The last one is the consistent practice. The regular practice will help you to improve, as the continuous practice and learning helps you in continuous improvement and development. So all these strategies will help you in learning vocabulary also and in learning pronunciation also. So I would like to conclude here that pronunciation is a fundamental aspect of language, and it also if you learn it, it will also help you to communicate effectively and you will be able to understand. So by understanding these components and employing these strategies will help you to improve and enhance your communication skills and will help you to develop your career prospects also, and your language proficiency will also be enhanced. So we are going to we must make sure we are going to use these strategies. We'll try to improve our English pronunciation, and we will be communicating effectively in our professional settings as well as in our personal development. So, thank you for today's session. We'll meet you in the next session.